In 2021, the tragic case of Gabby Petito gripped the nation. The 22-year-old YouTuber and her fiancé's ill-fated trip dominated the headlines. In this week's special edition of Crime in the City, we'll take you step by step from her shocking disappearance and death to the weeks-long manhunt for her fiancé and confirmed killer. This is a Fox 5 Crime in the City documentary, The Murder of Gabby Petito. We begin on September 15, 2021, 4 days after the Petito family reported Gabby missing to Suffolk County Police. Police named Brian Laundrie, Gabby's fiancé, a person of interest in her disappearance.
The report came out late this afternoon. Officers stopped short of calling it a domestic dispute. Instead, they say it was more of an emotional break or mental crisis. Regardless of what it was, Gabby is still missing, and her parents are praying for a safe return. A report obtained by Fox 5 via public records request offers some insight into an incident last month involving missing woman Gabrielle Petito and her boyfriend Brian Laundrie when the two were in Moab, Utah. Police officers described it as a, quote, mental health crisis, advised them to separate for the night and regain control of their anxiety. No charges were filed against either of them, according to the documents.
Memorize their face, memorize the tattoos.
Gabby has been missing for several weeks now. Her dad appeared on Fox News this morning, becoming even more desperate in the search. The 22-year-old, who was on a cross-country road trip with Laundrie last, spoke to her mom in late August when she was on her way to Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. That was the last time anyone has heard from her.
I think there are things that we know in this investigation that we're trying not to release for the integrity of this investigation.
Officials have named Laundrie as a person of interest. The two documented their cross-country journey on social media. Gabby posted this YouTube video on August 19th, and her last Instagram post was 6 days later. The Northport Police Department is now leading the investigation because the two were living in Florida. Detectives are working around the clock using every resource to find Gabby and bring her home safely or hold anyone accountable.
Tolls, highway cameras, gas station surveillance cameras, tips, cell phone usage, financials, whatever.
Authorities are looking to speak to Laundrie, who returned to his home in the van without Gabby. The van has since been recovered and searched for any evidence.
We need to know exactly where he was, where she was, their last locations.
The two families released dueling statements on Wednesday. Laundrie's family continued to stay quiet, citing advice from counsel. Petito's family called Laundrie's silence reprehensible and begged him to do the right thing. Gabby's stepdad, Jim, flew to Wyoming on Tuesday to aid in the search.
We're here to help law enforcement do what they do best, and that is to find Gabby.
In the days that followed, the search for Gabby Petito intensified. The Petito family desperate for answers, while the Laundrie family was not saying anything.
Well, there are still a lot of questions tonight surrounding the disappearance of Gabby Petito. Police are urging her fiancé to come forward and share details he might know about her disappearance. Jody Goldberg brings us tonight's update from Blue Point, Long Island, where Gabby grew up.
I beg his mother to make him speak, or at least for the parents to say something.
But Brian Laundrie, fiancé of 22-year-old missing woman Gabby Petito, and his parents haven't said a word on the advice of counsel. The two were on a cross-country road trip when Petito disappeared late last month. According to attorney Hunter Skolnick, they have a right to remain silent.
This can go on as long as he wants, unfortunately. He can stay quiet. He could make like this never happened.
Legal analysts call it a strategy. According to experts, the Laundries are avoiding incrimination and can only be questioned if and when Laundrie, who police are calling a person of interest in the case, is brought in as a suspect.
Is there a crime? I mean, we suspect there is. We know she's missing, but there's nothing for them to arrest him on yet.
Authorities in Utah are also looking into whether there's a connection between Petito's disappearance and the double murder of newlyweds, Crystal Turner and Kylan Schulte. Schulte worked at the same grocery store where Petito and Laundrie got into an argument just days before she vanished.
We've just been fighting this morning.
Body camera footage shows when police responded to a 911 call, but only offers a glimpse into the state of their relationship.
Everyone's sitting here trying to bring Gabby home, and the only one who doesn't care is the one who's supposed to care about her the most.
According to a timeline posted on the Find Gabby Facebook page, she was last seen on August 24th in Salt Lake City, Utah. She spoke to her mom the next day over FaceTime. On August 30th, her mom received a text from Petito's phone, quote, "no service in Yosemite," but doesn't believe it was her daughter who sent it. And on September 1st, Laundrie returned to their home in Northport, Florida, alone with the van.
They never went to Yosemite. They never had plans to go to Yosemite. So it's obvious.
The only person speaking in the Laundrie family is Brian's sister, Cassie, who told ABC News Gabby is like a sister to her and she hopes for a safe and sound return. A prayer vigil for Gabby will be held tonight in Northport, Florida.
A few days later, a body was discovered that would eventually be identified as Gabby Petito. The disturbing discovery led to a manhunt for Brian Laundrie, who couldn't be found.
So an autopsy that will be conducted today on a body found at Bridgerton National Forest Sunday. That body is believed to be that of missing Long Island woman Gabby Petito.
So her boyfriend remains a person of interest in her disappearance, but he can't be found by the police. Joining us now with more on this evolving investigation, defense attorney, former prosecutor Arthur Aidala. Nice to have you back on Good Day New York.
Good morning, everyone.
So Arthur, how is it possible the fiancé, he was always a person of interest, and yet he disappears? The house that he lived in with his parents, now a crime scene. Explain this to us.
Well, I really don't have an explanation as to how he slipped away through the night. And by the way, they did execute a search warrant, and inside the search warrant, in the verbiage of the search warrant, he's described as a suspect to the judge, because they found a hard drive that they believe contained some computer information that they asked the judge to allow them to look into, and they described Brian Laundrie as a suspect in this matter. You know, Bianca, I was looking at the timeline, and you know, it's very clear that she was very close to her mom, and they spoke often. And it's clear that the mom knew about the August the 12th incident. And then she doesn't hear from her daughter, who she used to hear from regularly, directly or via the YouTube video they were doing, for over 2 weeks. And then in that 2-week mark, the mom gets this weird text saying, "Can you help me get in touch with Stan? I'm either getting his voicemail or missed call." Stan's her grandfather. And her mom, Nicole, says she never called him Stan. So she thought that was very odd. And then the mom gets another text. Nicole gets another text on August the 30th, 3 days later. The judge says no service in Yosemite, and that's the last contact they have. And the question I just have is, there's no missing persons report given to the Suffolk County Suffolk County Police until September 11th. So the mom's last big communication with her was August the 12th. And it's basically a month later until the missing persons report is filed. Some of the questions I have is, did they call Brian? How many times did they call Brian? Yeah. Did they call, did anyone call the cell phone company? We know her cell phone was turned off about September 1st, which is approximately when Brian got back to Florida. And in a little bit of breaking news, one of her friends came forward, a woman by the name of Rose Davis, and said she knew the couple and that there was a lot of control issues by Brian over Gabby, to the point where Gabby didn't have a lot of friends in her new home in Florida because he was very jealous. So there are a lot of pieces of the puzzle that need to be put together, but the biggest one is what was said a minute ago, is what are the results of the autopsy report.
And the other thing, Arthur, you know, we're hearing now new information on when the police pulled over this couple in Utah. Originally, we saw the police report. She was the suspect. He was the victim. Now we hear from another person that the person who actually called in the police report said he saw Brian, you know, touching her inappropriately, hitting her or slapping her. And maybe she was afraid. And maybe she was afraid when police called her because, you know, what would happen after police walked away with her fiancé?
There was definitely a 911 call that indicates the male is attacking the female. Yeah. However, the police officers, when they arrived, they noted that the male had scratches and marks on his face. So they wrote it up that he was the one who was being attacked. But, you know, when you look at that video, and my heart breaks for her parents and her step-parents, because you can just see she's in tremendous anguish. And the mother said that as she was talking to her daughter along the trip, that there was a lot of anxiety being built up and a lot of basically fighting between the two of them. But your original question, Rosanna, is where is Brian Laundrie? Boy, oh boy, that beats the heck out of me, because even though they don't have a probable cause to arrest him at this point, there's just not enough evidence. That doesn't mean you don't put a cop car or two right in front of his house where at one point you knew where he was with his parents, and follow everywhere he goes in a public space.
Now, the autopsy of the body found that's believed to be Gabby Petito's, that's going to be done today. What could the outcome be? If it's A, then it's, you know, B. Like, what are we hoping to see with this?
Well, you know, look, let's just say there's something obvious, that there is some sort of an obvious wound, a stab wound, a bullet wound. You know, you look at things like under her fingernails. Is Brian's DNA under her fingernails? The identification here is not going to be an issue. In other words, if her DNA is found in the van, well, that was her van. But if his DNA is found under her fingernails or any of his fibers, well, that shows that there was some sort of a struggle. But they're also going to do toxicology. Are there drugs in her system?
Yeah.
They're going to see, did he leave her out in the cold, and did she freeze to death in the middle of the night? Did she fall and hit her head? There's so many things that a forensic examination is going to uncover that I think will lead to many of the answers here.
Speaking of leading to some answers, how likely is it that you think we're going to find Brian Laundrie alive after, you know, these so many days that he's gone missing?
Well, obviously, we all hope that another human being is alive. I think the two choices here are he found a way to end his life, if that's what he chose to do, or he found his way to get on a boat somewhere and get out of the United States of America, knowing that a probable, and you know, I don't know, but again, I think by the end of the day, we'll have a better idea. But he is, as they said, written in the search warrant, he is called the suspect. So therefore, all eyes are focused on him, and he's a young person. And obviously, Gabby's disappearance. Look, it became a nation case. It became an international case. You know, it's a big deal, and it was very much fueled by social media that she was found the way she was, because people saw the white van. They examined their own video. They saw where she was, where the van was. They see her flip-flop on the floor and a telephone on the floor towards the back of the van, very close to where she was located. And one would indicate the flip-flop on the floor, one flip-flop and one cell phone on the floor would indicate some type of a struggle. You know, people don't usually leave their shoes and their phone on the side of the road. A lot of questions, I believe, will be answered in the coming hours.
Later that same day, an autopsy would confirm everyone's worst fears. The body was in fact Gabby Petito, and that her death was ruled a homicide. A few days later, a community gathered in Blue Point, Long Island, Gabby's hometown, to remember the life cut short.
It was an emotional night in the community of Blue Point, Long Island, where Gabby Petito, of course, is from. Homeowners lined the streets with candles in their driveways and tied teal ribbons to nearly every tree. All of this, family and friends say, to make sure Gabby's memory shines on. Jessica Formosa was at the vigil. She is in Blue Point tonight with the latest. Jessica.
Steve, that's right. Tonight was all about remembering Gabby Petito and showing her family that the Bayport, Blueport community supports them and they share their pain. Blue Point is a tight-knit community, and tonight they show just that. Gabby Petito's hometown paying tribute to the 22-year-old whose life was tragically cut too short.
Really affected everyone here.
It was a beautiful soul. She was a beautiful person, kind.
Just before 7 p.m., residents on Blue Point Avenue walked outside and started lighting up candles at the edges of their driveways in honor of Gabby and her life.
It's such a tight community and such a strong community that when a family goes through something so hard, you just want to show them support in any way that you can.
We just want to do anything that we can to support this family and what this community is going through, standing behind this family.
Many never met Gabby or her family, but say her story touched everyone. The Long Island native went missing while on a cross-country road trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, who is now considered a person of interest in her death. Laundrie took off from his family's home in Northport, Florida, more than a week ago ago and hasn't been seen since. There is now a warrant for his arrest. This as the search for him continued Friday night.
I just feel terrible for the family and for everything that they've had to go through. I can't even imagine.
Meanwhile, back on Long Island, not only are they shining a light for Gabby, but teal ribbons lining almost every street pole and tree, as well as this growing memorial. And Steve, what a beautiful community. Everyone we spoke with tonight said that Gabby was a positive, beautiful person. Now her funeral is set for Sunday in Holbrook.
While the search for Brian Laundrie continued, the family of Gabby Petito spoke to the media for the first time since the body of their daughter was discovered.
She's with us. She's with us.
Gabby Petito's mom, Nicole, fighting back tears as the worst fear of any parent became a reality when the Teton County coroner confirmed her daughter's remains last week.
Gabby drew this one.
On Tuesday afternoon, Gabby's parents revealed their new Let It Be tattoos, matching the one Gabby had on her arm.
We can't let her name be taken in vain. We need positive stuff.
The family of Gabby Petito is confident the FBI will thoroughly investigate the case and ultimately get justice for their daughter. As they grieve, they're finding the positive from the tragedy by creating the Gabby Petito Foundation.
We're just hoping that through our tragedy with losing Gabby, that in the future we can help other people that may be in a similar situation.
The manhunt continues for Brian Laundrie, who has been named a person of interest in the case. There's also a federal warrant for his arrest after he allegedly used a debit card and PIN number for accounts that didn't belong to him. There's a makeshift memorial to honor Gabby growing on the corner of the Laundrie's home in Florida. In a statement, the attorney representing the Laundrie family called speculation that Brian's parents assisted him in leaving the home or avoiding arrest just wrong. He added that the Laundries are concerned and hope the FBI can locate him. The attorney representing Gabby's family made a public plea for Brian Laundrie to turn himself in.
The Laundries did not help us find Gabby. They're sure is not going to help us find Brian.
Meanwhile, Gabby's family, who spoke out for the first time since her disappearance, continued to shift the attention away from Laundrie, instead focusing on their late daughter and other missing people.
I just hope that people are inspired by her. It means a lot to me that she's touched so many lives already.
And the family also thanked their large support network and vows to continue pushing forward, living and loving their life every day, just the way Gabby did.
Nearly a month later, on October 21st, 2021, the FBI confirms that Brian Laundrie is dead. His skeletal remains were found in a Florida park.
Breaking news in the Gabby Petito murder investigation. The FBI is confirming that the human remains found inside a Florida nature preserve are, in fact, those of Brian Laundrie. That news coming down just moments ago, just one day after those remains were initially discovered. It follows a month-long manhunt for Laundrie after the disappearance and death of Gabby Petito. Jody Goldberg is live in Blue Point, Long Island tonight with more on what Laundrie's parents are now saying about this discovery. Jody.
Chris, good evening to you. We were saying all along that the medical examiner, as they had told us, we wouldn't have an identification for up to several days because the remains weren't identified and we wouldn't know that information. But now, just moments ago, as you mentioned, we've learned those remains are those of Brian Laundrie's. The FBI being able to identify them through dental records. As we've been reporting, now Chris and Roberta Laundrie just joined in on the search this week. Brian's parents helping authorities for their son, searching for him, and they found several items on Wednesday, including a backpack and notebook. Also found skeletal remains consisting of bones, and we've now learned they're Brian's. The 23-year-old remained the sole person of interest in Gabby Petito's murder. Laundrie's family had told investigators where they believed he went, a park about 20 miles from their home in Northport, Florida. We're told the items were found in an area that up until recently had been underwater, and that's what made it so difficult to find them. Brian Laundrie vanished before law enforcement officials could question him about what happened to his fiancée, Gabby Petito. The couple was on a cross-country road trip and documented their travels on social media when she disappeared. He returned to Florida with the van they were traveling in, but without her. And a few weeks later, police discovered Gabby's strangled body in Wyoming. And now in a text message I just received from the attorney representing Gabby's family, he tells me they're not making a statement at this time. Gabby's family will speak at the appropriate time. And again, just to to give you an idea, we're just getting this information. Her family will make it a statement at the appropriate time when they are emotionally ready. For now, they're grieving their beautiful daughter who they lost, and Gabby's family hasn't heard back from them this evening.
That's this week's Crime in the City. Subscribe for more at youtube.com/Fox5NY.